3 years ago, I got invited over there to go to a kickboxing event in Moscow. And I thought, well, I've never been there, so I'd like to go over there. And because, I had black belts that have come over and trained with me from Russia.
Chuck Norris is the man who roundhouse kicked his way into pop culture history. For decades, he was the unstoppable action hero, a martial arts legend who seemed invincible and inspired countless myths and memes. But at 85, Chuck Norris has quietly vanished from Hollywood. When you learn the reason why, it won't just surprise you, it will move you to tears. What really happened to Hollywood's toughest icon, and what is he doing now? Join us as we uncover the shocking truth behind Chuck Norris's life at 85. The poisoning. It all began when Gina O'Kelly, Chuck Norris's wife of 15 years at that point, needed routine MRI scans to diagnose some health issues she'd been experiencing. It was supposed to be a simple, safe medical procedure. Millions of people get MRIs every year without incident. Gina asked the doctors if she could complete the scans in one visit to minimize disruption to her life. The doctors said no. She needed 3 separate scans, 3 separate visits, 3 separate injections of gadolinium-based contrast agents, the chemical compound used to enhance MRI images. Gina asked specifically if receiving multiple injections was safe. The doctors assured her it was. She trusted them. That trust nearly killed her. Within hours of the 3rd injection, Gina felt like her whole body was on fire. The burning was so intense, so all-consuming, that she couldn't function. But the burning was just the beginning. Gina's body began shaking violently, uncontrollable tremors that wouldn't stop. Confusion set in. She couldn't think clearly, couldn't remember things, couldn't process what was happening to her. Her kidneys started failing. She lost 15 pounds in a matter of weeks as her body rejected food. She couldn't swallow solid food anymore and had to be fed like an infant, living on baby food just to survive. Chuck watched his wife, the beacon of light in his life, the woman he'd been completely devoted to since meeting her in 1997, deteriorate before his eyes. And the doctors had no answers. They didn't believe gadolinium could cause these symptoms. They suggested it was psychological. They implied she was imagining it. However, the couple believed Gina was suffering from gadolinium deposition disease, a condition where the toxic heavy metal gadolinium remains in the body long after an MRI scan, causing severe neurological and physical symptoms. The medical establishment largely denied this condition existed, but Gina and thousands of other patients knew differently. Their bodies told the truth that doctors refused to acknowledge. Chuck and Gina spent $5 million searching for treatment's pill. They visited clinics across the country and eventually found a facility in Nevada that specialized in treating gadolinium toxicity. The treatments helped, slowly pulling Gina back from the brink, but the damage had been done. She would never be the same. In 2017, 4 years after Gina's poisoning began, Chuck and Gina filed a lawsuit in San Francisco Superior Court against 11 healthcare companies. They alleged that the gadolinium-based contrast agents had poisoned Gina, causing severe brain damage, violent shaking, confusion, kidney damage, and the sensation of her body burning from the inside. They also claimed the manufacturers and medical providers should have warned them of the risks before administering the injections. The lawsuit sought $10 million in damages, money that would barely cover the medical expenses they'd already incurred and the ongoing treatments Gina needed. But more importantly, they wanted accountability. They wanted warning labels on gadolinium products. They wanted other patients protected from the nightmare Gina had endured. Chuck spoke to Good Health magazine about the decision to prioritize Gina's care over everything else in his life. "I've given up my film career to concentrate on Gina. My whole life right now is about keeping her alive. I believe this issue is so important." The man who'd starred in Walker, Texas Ranger for 9 seasons, who'd appeared in dozens of action films, who could command millions per movie, walked away from it all. His last major film role was The Expendables 2 in 2012. By 2013, when Gina got sick, he was done with Hollywood. In 2020, Chuck and Gina dismissed their lawsuit against the gadolinium manufacturers. The reasons for the dismissal were never publicly disclosed. Some speculated they'd reached a settlement. Others suggested the legal battle had become too exhausting while Gina was still recovering. Whatever the reason, the lawsuit ended quietly, without the public vindication they'd sought. But the damage to Gina's health was permanent. Sources close to the couple revealed that as of 2025, Gina's health is stable and strong, but she's never fully recovered. She stepped back from the spotlight completely, focusing on family, community involvement, and maintaining balance in her personal life. The woman who once appeared as a model and television personality now lives a deliberately private existence, avoiding anything that might stress her fragile recovery. But while Chuck was caring for Gina through the darkest time of their lives, another tragedy was unfolding that would test his faith like never before. The love story. Back in 1997, Chuck Norris was at a sushi restaurant with friends when a woman walked in who would change his life forever. Gina O'Kelly, 34 years old at the time, entered the restaurant with Larry Morales, one of Chuck's close friends. Chuck, who was 57, felt something he'd never experienced before. He later said he felt nervous, that Gina looked like an angel. This wasn't Chuck's first marriage. He'd been married to Diane Holcheck from 1958 to 1988, a 30-year relationship that produced 2 sons, Mike and Eric. He also had a daughter, Dina, from an extramarital affair in the 1960s. By the time he met Gina, Chuck was a successful action star, wealthy beyond measure, and emotionally ready for something different. Gina wasn't some starry-eyed fan. She was a former model from Ryan, Oklahoma. She'd been married before to Gordon Hinchberger, and that marriage had given her 2 children, Timothy and Kelly. After her divorce, she'd become a working single mother, balancing career and parenting alone. She was strong, independent, and not particularly impressed by Chuck Norris's fame. But there was a connection neither could deny. Shortly after that restaurant encounter, Gina appeared on the set of Walker, Texas Ranger, where their professional interaction deepened into something more meaningful. They began dating, drawn together by shared values, mutual respect, and genuine affection that transcended the 23-year age gap. On November 28, 1998, just a year after meeting, Chuck and Gina married in a private ceremony. At the time, Gina was 35 and Chuck was 58. The wedding marked the beginning of what would become one of Hollywood's most enduring marriages. As of 2025, they've been married for 26 years, a milestone few celebrity couples ever reach. 3 years into their marriage, on August 30th, 2001, Gina gave birth to fraternal twins, Dakota Allen Norris and Danilee Kelly Norris. Chuck, already a father to 3 adult children from his previous relationships, embraced fatherhood again in his 60s. Sources close to the couple say the twins became the center of their world, with Gina being described as an amazing mother who supported Chuck in his nonprofit work while keeping him calm. What makes Chuck and Gina's relationship remarkable isn't just its longevity. It's the consistent devotion they've shown each other through both triumph and tragedy. When Gina got sick in 2013, that devotion was tested in ways neither could have imagined. Chuck didn't just say he'd be there for her, he restructured his entire existence around her care. He turned down film roles. He stopped making public appearances. He dedicated every resource, emotional and financial, to finding treatments that might help her recover. Their marriage has become a symbol of enduring love, mutual respect, and partnership in an era when celebrity relationships often end quickly. For many observers, Chuck and Gina exemplify how two strong individuals can build a fulfilling life together through support, sacrifice, and unwavering loyalty. Gina's role extends beyond being Chuck's wife. She's the CEO and business leader of C-Force Bottled Water, a company they launched together. She's co-chair with Chuck of Kickstart Kids, a national nonprofit that teaches martial arts to at-risk youth. She's a mother of 4 children when you include Chuck's older kids, and a grandmother. Her influence on Chuck's life and legacy cannot be overstated. But just as Chuck and Gina were planning to make 2025 their most special year ever, another loss would shake Chuck to his core: Wilma's 103 years of faith. On December 4, 2024, Wilma Norris Knight, Chuck Norris's mother, passed away peacefully at age 103. 2 days later, on December 6th, Chuck shared the heartbreaking news on Instagram with a tribute that revealed just how much his mother meant to him. But to understand why Wilma's death hit Chuck so hard, you need to know her story. It's a story of survival against impossible odds, of faith tested by unimaginable tragedy, and of a mother's love that shaped one of the world's most famous action stars. Wilma Norris was born on May 4, 1921, in Wilson, Oklahoma, during the tail end of World War I, and just before the Great Depression would devastate America. She was raised in abject poverty during the Dust Bowl, one of 11 children in a family that could barely feed itself. When Wilma was just 8 years old, she was given away as a ward of the state so she could receive medical care for a rare disease. Wilma spent 2 years in a children's hospital 2 hours away by car, except her family had no car. She was separated from everyone she knew, treated for a disease that could have killed her, and completely alone. When she finally returned home healthy a few years later, the Great Depression was in full swing. Her family was even poorer than before. Survival was a daily struggle, but Wilma endured, developing the faith and resilience that would carry her through the next century of challenges. At 16 years old, Wilma married Ray Norris and soon gave birth to 3 sons: Carlos Ray Norris, who would become Chuck, Wieland, and Aaron. But Ray was not a good husband or father. He was an alcoholic who abandoned Wilma and their 3 boys, leaving her to raise them completely alone with no financial support. His mother's abandonment by his father forced young Chuck into a role he wasn't ready for. But Wilma's strength showed him what resilience looked like. After the divorce, Wilma moved her boys from Oklahoma to Prairie Village, Kansas, and eventually to Torrance, California, working multiple jobs to keep them fed and housed. Chuck has spoken publicly about how his mother never complained, never gave up, and always maintained her faith, even when they had nothing. Then came the tragedy that would define Wilma's middle years. In 1970, Chuck's younger brother Wieland died in the Vietnam War. Every mother's worst nightmare became Wilma's reality. She buried her son, a young man who'd barely lived, killed in a war thousands of miles from home. But the losses didn't stop there. Wilma endured the deaths of her 2 husbands. She buried a stepson. She buried 2 grandchildren. She outlived every single one of her 10 siblings, becoming the last survivor of her 11-member biological family. She battled cancer repeatedly, undergoing roughly 30 different surgeries for various health issues over her century-plus of life. At 100 years old, after burying most of the people she'd ever loved, after surviving poverty and disease and war and cancer, Wilma was still here. And Chuck attributed her survival to one thing: unwavering faith in God. In 2011, Wilma published her autobiography, Acts of Kindness, My Story, described as a collection of Christian stories for those on a journey towards Christ. She promoted the book on Mike Huckabee's Fox News show in 2012 when she was 91 years old, sharing her testimony with a national audience. Wilma Norris Knight lived 103 years, from 1921 to 2024, spanning more than a century of American history. She witnessed 2 world wars, the Great Depression, the Civil Rights Movement, the Moon Landing, 11th of September, and the Digital Revolution. She outlived most of her family. She survived poverty, disease, and loss that would have destroyed most people. But Wilma wasn't the only thing shaping Chuck's life in 2025. His commitment to making a difference has taken forms most people never see. Kickstart Kids and Changing Lives. While Hollywood moved on without him, while tabloids speculated about his retirement or health, Chuck Norris was quietly changing thousands of lives through a nonprofit organization most people have never heard of, Kickstart Kids. Founded in 1990, Kickstart Kids uses martial arts as a tool to help middle school students develop character, discipline, and self-confidence. The program operates in Texas schools, teaching karate to kids who often lack the security and self-belief that Chuck himself struggled with as a youngster. He didn't become a champion because of natural talent. He became a champion through relentless discipline and work ethic. And he wants to pass that understanding to kids who might otherwise believe their circumstances define their futures. Gina O'Kelly serves as co-chair of Kickstart Kids alongside Chuck, making it a true family mission. Even during her recovery from gadolinium poisoning, even when she was struggling with her own health, Gina remained involved in the organization's leadership. The program has impacted tens of thousands of students over its 30-plus years of operation. But Kickstart Kids isn't Chuck's only business venture. He and Gina also co-founded C-Force Bottled Water, a company that operates from their ranch. Chuck famously owns a mega ranch that includes its own bottling facility for water. His focus on clean water and natural nutrition is part of his broader health strategy, something he credits with maintaining his vitality into his 80s. Chuck has also maintained business relationships with companies like QVC, promoting gym equipment through their platform. These aren't just endorsement deals. Chuck genuinely believes in the products he promotes, viewing them as tools to help people improve their health and fitness regardless of age. The common thread through all of Chuck's business and philanthropic activities is service. Whether he's teaching kids martial arts, promoting health and wellness products, or running a water company, the goal is always to help people improve their lives. It's a philosophy that traces directly back to Wilma's teaching, that kindness and putting others first matters more than personal success. And at 85, Chuck is proving that philosophy extends to how he's living his own life. The Warrior at 85. Chuck Norris turned 85 years old on March 10, 2025, and the celebration he posted on Instagram shocked fans. This wasn't an old man reminiscing about past glory. This was someone who genuinely feels decades younger than his chronological age. "I feel like I'm 48, Chuck has stated publicly, a testament to his strict fitness regimen and positive mental outlook. At 85, he maintains a workout routine that would exhaust people half his age. Martial arts training remains central to his daily life. He incorporates strength training to maintain muscle mass. Cardiovascular work keeps his heart healthy. Flexibility exercises prevent the stiffness that plagues most people his age. But Chuck's approach to health goes beyond just physical exercise. He's a major proponent of meditation, recognizing that mental and spiritual well-being are as important as physical fitness for long-term vitality. His philosophy, as he frequently shares with followers, revolves around one core truth. Progress isn't measured by perfection, but by persistence. That persistence shows in his diet. While exact details are closely guarded, it's widely known that Chuck adheres to a clean eating regimen, prioritizing whole, unprocessed, nutrient-dense foods. He avoids the processed junk that dominates modern American diets, and his commitment to hydration, supported by his own C-Force Water Company, ensures his body gets the clean water needed for muscle recovery and overall vitality. The support system Gina provides cannot be overstated. As sources have noted, she's been the steel in his backbone, keeping him calm, supporting his work, and maintaining the stable home environment that allows him to focus on health and fitness without the stress that ages most people prematurely. Chuck's commitment to staying active serves a purpose beyond personal health. He uses his platform to inspire others, particularly those in their later years who might believe decline is inevitable. His message is simple: aging is unavoidable, but how you age is largely within your control. As of 2025, Chuck Norris's estimated net worth sits at $70 million according to Celebrity Net Worth. He's built this wealth through decades of work as an actor, martial artist, author, and entrepreneur. But he's not hoarding that wealth. He's using it to fund Kickstart Kids, to support his family, to provide the best possible care for Gina, and to maintain the lifestyle that keeps him healthy and active. And surprisingly, Chuck's career isn't actually over. After more than a decade away from regular acting, after everyone assumed Chuck Norris had permanently retired to care for Gina, he's coming back, and his return project is perfectly on brand. A film called Zombie Plane, where Chuck portrays a fictionalized version of himself. According to his IMDb profile, Chuck returned to acting in 2024 with Agent Recon, his first major role in 12 years since The Expendables 2 in 2012. The fact that he felt healthy enough and Gina was stable enough for him to take on new projects signals how far they've both come since the darkest days of her illness. Most recently, Chuck has continued to stay connected with fans through social media posts. He shares updates about his life, promotes Kickstart Kids, celebrates birthdays and anniversaries with Gina, and occasionally reminds people he's still capable of throwing a roundhouse kick that would hurt. What do you think about Chuck's return to acting? Was it truly because of his wife he quit acting in the first place? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.